So here's the thing. The TikTok ban was never really about protecting your data or any national security concerns or really anything like that. The whole thing was really about censorship. Am I the only one who is wondering what the heck is going on with TikTok? And no, I'm not talking about whether or not it's going to be banned. I know that President Trump gave it another extension for 75 days this time. I'm talking about what's going on with the algorithm, with the For You page, with videos randomly being under review, with comments being moderated like they never were before, and with views being seriously down. Understand, I am a very small creator, but my goodness, like my views now are like in the 1 and 200s where they used to be in the like 3 and 400s, which I was pretty proud of. So I decided to do a little bit of digging into what is going on with TikTok, why Congress was trying to ban it in the first place, and whether or not something more sinister is at play. So go ahead, grab your cup of coffee, and join me for today's Coffee Chat with Chan. So let's back up a little bit. April 24th, 2024. President Joe Biden signed the Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary Controlled Applications Act into law. That's a lot of words for this law. But what you need to know is that it essentially forced TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, into divesting 80% of that company into a US-backed company, essentially meaning that they had to sell that portion of their company to a US company or they had to be banned in the United States. Now, proponents of the law said that Chinese national security laws require organizations to cooperate with intelligence gathering. They even accused the app of essentially stealing Americans' data and just giving it to the Chinese government, which is really interesting because that's exactly what Meta has been accused of several different times over the last several years. As a matter of fact, in early of 2024, 8 different consumer rights groups in Europe actually accused Meta of stealing consumer data. These groups actually filed complaints against Meta for allegedly collecting unnecessary amounts of data, including sexual orientation, emotional station, and susceptibility to addiction. And they all said that these users could not have consented to releasing that data to Meta. It also sounds like this 2022 article from Vox that talks about Meta's trackers that are embedded in millions of different websites collecting data about where you go and what you do, even when you're not on Meta's platform. So it seems like it was never about the data collection. And speaking of data collection, PC Mag recently released an article talking about the top 20 most invasive apps, meaning the apps that are most likely to collect your data and even sell off your data. Believe it or not, TikTok came in at number 14. Tied for first place are the Meta platforms, Facebook, Messenger, Instagram, and Threads. So all of this brings me back to my original point that the TikTok ban was never about data collection or even about national security concerns. Because if it really were, well, we would have banned all of these different social media platforms and stopped them from collecting our data. Or at the very least, stop them from selling our data in the first place. So of course, we all know that TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, is headquartered in China. But did you know that the version of the app that we use in the United States and that many other countries use is actually banned in China? They use a completely different version of the app. And the version of the app that they use is actually heavily censored by the Chinese government. Now, obviously, President Trump recently gave TikTok a 75-day extension to find a seller that will buy at least 80% of the company. And of course, that company has to be based here in the United States in order for TikTok to remain working in the United States. But remember when TikTok went dark on January 19th? Now, granted, it was just for a few hours, but just think about how different the app is now as opposed to how it was before that happened. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that has noticed this because creators all over the place are also talking about this, talking about how the For You page is different, how all of a sudden now comments are being moderated in a way that they never were before. All of a sudden now you can't say anything in the comment section. And I'm not talking about things that are in any way controversial or even derogatory, just basic comments are being moderated. And for some reason now, videos are being posted and being labeled as under review now, where they never were before. And a lot of content creators are talking about how they believe they're being shadow banned for the topics that they talk about in their videos, especially a lot of content creators that are conservative leaning. So here's what we know for sure. We know it's not about data because, well, we can clearly see how many other social media companies collect far more data than TikTok does. We also know it's not about national security concerns because during all of the hearings that both the Senate and the House held on this potential TikTok ban, they didn't produce any evidence showing that TikTok or their parent company ByteDance was actually giving any data to the Chinese government. But the thing that we don't know, or perhaps we do, is whether or not censorship is really at play here. But there are a lot of allegations, and there are a lot of people out there saying that maybe TikTok or maybe some other player is censoring a lot of voices out there, or at least they're trying to. But let me know what you think by leaving your thoughts there in the comment section. And don't forget to give me a like and hit that subscribe button.